We all know that social media is an important way of reaching new people and engaging the current people at our church. And so today on Practical Church Planting, we're going to give you 7 practical tips for better social media use.
Welcome back to Practical Church Planting, where in 15 minutes or less, we'll give you practical tips, advice, and encouragement to help you plant and grow healthy churches. My name is Brian Androsi, and joining me, as always, is Dylan Dodson. And today we're talking about 7 tips for better social media use.
So we just have some tips, advice, and encouragement for your social media use as a church. We'll go, here's number 1, use yellow emojis. Now, Brian was like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, I didn't know if you were specifying use them yellow or just use emojis and had to qualify it with yellow.
So here's what I mean. If you use emojis in any of your posting, whether on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as a side note, I think I've seen some research, but I've also just noticed this anecdotally. You get more engagement with emojis because you're more likely to stop scrolling if you see just text is boring.
Yeah.
And even text with an image, if there's an emoji in it, whether it's a church building, maybe it's the prayer hands or the praise hands or whatever.
Right.
Emojis actually help. You don't want to go overboard, but actually throwing an emoji or two in a post as a side note is a really helpful thing.
Yeah.
What I mean by yellow emojis is that if you ever do any emojis with human body parts, whether it's the faces or the hands, use the default yellow one and not one of the skin tones. Because what can happen is that you can apply, especially if you use always the same color skin tone, that this is the type of church for people that have this skin
tone. Yeah.
Now, you may not be thinking about that. Maybe this is controversial. If you're white, you probably don't think this matters as much because you're used to seeing white. But imagine, for example, if you're white, seeing a church that always used black emojis. You would probably assume that's probably a black church.
Black church, right.
If you see, and converse is true, if you're white, you probably don't think about this because we're the majority in America, so we don't think about it. If you're black and you see a church always using white emojis, you probably assume that's just a white church.
Yeah.
And so I think this matters more than people might think. Yeah. And just a tip for you, because if you're the one that's posting on social media, you're probably using your own skin tone. Yeah. And so you're always using the same exact one.
Right.
And so the best is to use the default, the yellow one, because it does not convey this is the only type of person. Now there's exceptions. Maybe you're doing something and you use like all of them.
Right.
I wouldn't use all of them for every post, but maybe there's a reason why you want to use multiple. But if you're just going to use one, use the default yellow one and do not use an ethnic or skin tone based one in your posts.
Yeah. When Dylan mentioned that we were going to talk about this, and I asked, it was just yellow. Did you mean to put yellow? And he said what'd you say? It's the most racially neutral or something like that.
The original one.
Yeah.
So
blew my mind. It never even crossed my mind. I mean, like you said, never even crossed my mind. And I think that it's
and I could be wrong on this. Maybe we'll get in trouble. Yeah. It's probably because you're white.
That's what I was about to say. I was going to say it's probably because I'm white, and I've just I'd never even noticed. And so, no, I think that's really good advice.
So use emojis, but make sure you use the yellow emojis. That is the smartest thing to do. Number 2, what you post is more important than when you post. So sometimes people often ask, should I post in the morning? What time? Whatever. All of the social media platforms now, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, they're not chronological anymore. I actually still like Twitter, and I actually go in there and always change it back. So like I'm still fighting for dear life on that. But Instagram, Facebook, it doesn't matter. And so honestly, I've noticed this in our own thing. It doesn't really matter when you post, as long as people, if they like it and engage with it, it will keep showing up in people's feeds.
Right.
And so I wouldn't worry too much about when it is, but more so about the quality of what it is. And then if it's good, then, I wouldn't post between like 11 p.m. and 7 a.m.
Yeah.
But other than that, as long as it's good quality, I would focus on that more than when you post.
Yeah. I think it's good. I don't really have anything to add to it. I mean, I think there was a time where it was big on like what time of day is the most important, but those days are gone. Yeah. So,
number 3, I hope these are interesting for you. Always post in third person. Now, this can be hard.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Maybe like the emoji one, it's like something you never thought of, especially if you're smaller and you kind of know, everyone knows I'm the one that's posting it anyway. First of all, not everybody does know that, especially.
Very true.
Social media is the front door for everybody. So they don't know who the pastor is. If you're a church plant, if you got 30 people, like maybe all your people know it's you, but nobody else does. And if you're trying to reach new people. So what I mean is don't say, I'm so excited about this Sunday.
Yeah.
Or I did this or whatever. You say we, because the church, it's a third person thing. I don't know if that's grammatically correct, but that's how you should post.
Yeah.
We are excited for this Sunday, or we had a great time at this festival, or we are so excited to see you at blank, whatever it is. You might not think it matters. You probably might not be thinking about it because you're so small, but don't use first person always post in third person on your church social media accounts.
What if you say like, hey, I had such a good time at whatever, and then at the end parentheses Pastor Dylan or something
Right.
like that?
Well, yeah, great question.
I have seen.
Now that you say that, I've seen that too. Again, I would say that's bad because people, if they don't know who you are, they're like, who's Pastor Dylan?
Yeah.
And remember, it's not just for your current people, it's for also reaching new people. Social media, that's what it does.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I mean, I've seen pastors do where they have their accounts and then the church has their account and it's always posting the exact same thing, like just copy paste theirs in the churches. And I mean, in reality, hopefully forever the pastor won't be the only one running the social media, but it's just it comes across as very like the pastor, and it's kind of a given the pastor's the one that's writing it if you're using that language, that the pastor is the only one that matters and that he's the most important thing and that this social media is all about focusing on him.
And especially to your point, if you say, in parentheses, whoever wrote this, if you don't go to that church, you're like, well, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, right.
So maybe I'm not invited.
And Pastor Dylan could be the lead pastor, could be an associate pastor, it could be anybody,
Yeah, so don't post in first person. And with that, try not to post things that are like super obviously like personal to the person. Like it's a church's page, it's not a particular staff member's page.
Yes.
So always post in third person. Number four, avoid posting text only. Now this is mostly for Facebook, because Instagram you have to have an image.
Yeah.
And Twitter, I think we said in the last episode or one around these, we post on Twitter, but it's not on our strategy at all because
do whatever you want on Twitter.
Particularly Facebook and Instagram. This is for Facebook. Like you want people to engage in what you're doing. Nobody ever stops scrolling for Facebook because they just see someone wrote a sentence or two.
Nope.
They don't do that. And you're much less likely, especially as a page, to show people's feeds.
Yeah.
So always include a image or a video if you can, which means you may say, well, I don't have a video and image for everything. That might mean you don't want to post it, because if you post things, we've talked about some previous episodes, that are not engaged with, Facebook, especially as a Facebook page and not a personal profile, will suppress, because they want people to be engaged on their platform, will suppress your stuff even more until the fact where hardly anybody will see it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you won't really have to worry about if people are going to engage with it or not, because if you just post text, they probably will never see it.
Right.
But there's been times where I follow things and start thinking to myself, like, is their page dead? I don't really ever see it anymore, and go to their page and it is mostly just text, and it kind of makes sense of why it doesn't show up anymore. So
don't post anything with just text.
Don't post text.
Now with that, you might be thinking, well, I don't have a picture for this thing coming up or whatever. Let me just go on Google or one of the free places and get a picture.
Yep.
Number 5, never use stock photos.
Oh.
Because especially a day and age, everybody knows it's a fake picture. They're fake. Everybody knows it.
Right.
And people don't want to see fake things. And so I would say post less things if you don't have stuff for it, which is fine. Make graphics or take pictures of your own people. Like, and I know not everybody can do this, especially if you're starting out. We have someone that takes pictures every Sunday. But maybe for one Sunday or just for 2 Sundays, have someone, maybe because social media is important, you could even pay somebody if you don't have anybody, and I would kind of encourage that, although there's likely someone in your church that has some experience. And just take a picture of Sunday, of the worship gathering, and people in the lobby before and after, whatever, people volunteering, all that sort of thing. Have pictures that you can use for your post or make graphics. So everything that we post through New City has an image. It's either a graphic or a picture of something. We don't post anything with just text because nobody's going to engage with it. But please don't use stock photos, and that includes on your website. Don't put them on your website either.
And a couple of things. I mean, I've experienced where people use stock photos and then you show up to the thing and it is so vastly different than what the photos are projecting. And like, I get sometimes you don't really think about that and you're just using something because it looks nice. But if you're using images, especially stock photos of people, and it's groups of people or racially diverse people, and that's not what if you're using these things and then you show up and this is not what was, I guess, advertised, people notice those things. And also if this isn't your forte, if you don't have any experience with this, there are tons of resources to learn this. And if you want to find someone that's good at it, that wants to do it, that enjoys it, good. But if you can't find that person, there's no excuse to not learn it. Like do we ever do an episode on free? I think we did an episode on free graphic design or something like that stuff. But Canva is a website. It's free. Their pro version is free, right? For nonprofits. Yeah. And they have templates and stuff where you can just take a picture and drop it into it and change the text and you're done. Like there are so many free things that you can do that kind of, sorry, but take the excuse out of this. Right?
Yeah. So no stock photos.
Yeah.
And again, don't post it if it's only text.
Yep.
Number 6, the consistency is much more important than quantity. And so what I mean by that is it's okay to have less posts than a bunch of posts that nobody cares about.
Yeah.
Now, when I mean consistent, I mean like at least a few a week, ideally.
Yeah.
But always have a few a week. And don't if you get inspired and for whatever reason you have a bunch of stuff you want to post or you have a bunch of events coming up, you just can't post everything. In fact, as a side note, we have dramatically reduced the posts that we do for events. I don't know if you've noticed this because I haven't said anything. We hardly ever post about our events anymore on social media.
Yeah.
We might do it on our Insta stories because nobody cares and they're not engaged with that. And because they don't engage with it anyway, it doesn't show up. If people want to go to something, they're going to go to something. It's very rare that they're like, oh, I completely forgot about it. And some random, Facebook picture reminded me. Like you got to do a better job other ways. But all that to say, if you only have a few things that you can post, that's fine. Make a consistent schedule so there's content there. Don't just post a bunch of random things and then have nothing, then have a bunch of random things because people have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to events, if you treat your events as an event on Facebook, like if you create an event and invite people to it, if they're interested or going to it, they'll get reminded. Yep. So you don't just extra posts about it is really just extra noise that people don't need because they're already going to get reminded of it that week and that day. So
so consistency over quantity. Again, try to, if you even only have a few posts, just do 1 or 2 or 3 a week, but kind of try to keep it consistent so you always have something.
Yeah.
And then lastly, quality over quantity. So sorry, quantity. You're getting a bad rap, although we do think quantity is good too. But quality over quantity. So again, let's say you want to have posts, but they're not very good. You don't have an image, you don't have a graphic. Post less things.
Yeah.
Because the stuff that you post will not be seen if it is bad.
Yes. Everything won't be seen if your posts are bad because people don't engage, and then even your really good stuff isn't going to show up.
And this is where I actually meant to talk about the event posts in this one because it has more to do with quality than consistency.
Oh, well.
This is what I meant to say. We are actually posting way less about our events because that nobody cares.
Yeah.
That's a very low quality, unless it's like a super exciting, like maybe you do a trunk or treat or you're doing like some big not normal event. That's different because it's exciting. It doesn't feel like self-promotion. It's like, oh yeah, no, I really want to go to that thing. But quality over quantity, it is better to have only 2 posts a week on Facebook, although I would shoot for more. We have an episode somewhere about like how, like a schedule, a week schedule that you could use.
Yeah.
I'd rather you have 1 or 2 posts a week that are good than 5 that are just like text only. This is boring. This is self-promotion. I don't have any reason to actually follow this page or engage with it.
Yeah. One thing I'll add is don't use, this tip as an out to not post anything. If you're thinking I can't create things that are high enough quality, I don't think what I make is good enough, so I'm just not going to post anything. Nothing is worse than all these things we're saying. Right. So that's bad advice, but learn it. I mean, post something. Something is better than nothing, but focus on the quality. Focus on something that people actually engage with over just being noisy. Yeah,
so those are 7 tips that you could use. I'll say 2 things as we close. 1, this is not like a shameless plug. It's just if you want to see it, because we're still a church plant.
Yeah.
New City RDU, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, it's the same handle. You can follow us and just see some of the stuff that we're doing, maybe give you some inspiration. And part of that, there's a Pro Church Tools, maybe you're familiar with it, maybe if you're not. They have a social media package that we've started using that's really helpful. Well, they'll give you a post a day for 30 days. And so we've started using that. It does cost some money, but we throw it into what we currently have, and it gives us stuff for every single day. On multiple platforms. I mean, they only give you one, and you don't want to put the same thing on each platform, but that combined with our own stuff is really helpful too, to give you some ideas on things you could post, but I would look them up. It's Pro Church Tools. They've got a social media package. Costs some money, but the engagement is really worth it, I think.
And one thing I'll add, and I'll say this because I don't have any involvement in our social media here at New City, so
yes, you do, Brian. I say, Brian, schedule this video to Facebook, and
that's true, and then I click schedule. But I don't mind saying this because I don't really have any involvement in it. But we've been told by multiple people we've had multiple people come saying, I'm surprised at the way your social media looks, or I'm surprised at the way your Facebook looks, especially for a smaller church. And one thing to add to it is there's a lot of things we could improve and a lot of things we're working on, but we don't have a professional communications person.
Right. We don't have anyone right now.
Right. We would love one. It's us. Right. But we don't have like a person with this big communications background that comes in and just runs everything for us, and so we're making it seem like it's easier than it actually is. This is all just us figuring it out. It used to be a lot worse than it is now.
Right.
So I'd encourage you, if you're trying to figure out what this looks like, especially from the beginning, is check out our social media. Just to make us not sound self-promoting, you don't have to follow us, but just check it out and see what it looks like and see what it can look like, even just doing it yourself.
What you said is right. The difference was that we valued it as a priority,
Yeah.
and so we've learned and gotten better. There's a lot of things, especially if we had someone that really knew what they were doing to make it better. Because it's been a priority for us, we've tried things and it's gotten better. The biggest reason that most churches aren't good at this is not because they don't have the skill or the talent, it's because they don't care.
Yeah.
They say they care, but there's no time and effort or money.
Yeah, the effort
spent
really
on it.
shows where you care. So
again, those are 7 tips for better social media use. Hope they were helpful for you. Practicalplanning.com/questions if you have questions about a future question that you want us to talk about in a future episode.
Right.
And we'll be with you next time on Practical Church Planting. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Practical Church Planting. Whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or Practical Planning, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, make sure you like or subscribe or do whatever it's telling you to do or should do on that platform.
And hey, if you are so tired of looking at our ugly faces, but you're not tired of listening to our beautiful voices, then you can find our podcast if you just search Practical Church Planting on iTunes or Google Play. Make sure not to just find it, not just to listen, but to subscribe.
Make sure you subscribe. Brian, tell them to subscribe.
Subscribe.
See you next time.